This is KTN News.
It is now 20 minutes to 7. This is Morning Express time for the dawn debate. Now, political tolerance is often said than practiced. Just yesterday, NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga was denied an opportunity to address Madaraka Day celebrations in Nyeri. Both President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto did not acknowledge Raila's presence. In recent years, the opposition has been organizing parallel events during national holidays, but the NASA leader announced a week ago that he would be attending this year's Madaraka Day celebrations. Still on this political tolerance debate, the rivalry between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho after the latter were barred from attending the launch of the standard gauge railway in Mombasa. These are just but the national displays of political intolerance. But on Dawn Debate today, we interrogate the issue. In the panel today, we have Moses Oburu, the Secretary General of NASA Champions, and nominated Member of Parliament, Honorable Isaac Mwaura. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning for the Dawn Debate.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Moses Oburu, on your thoughts and comments. Kenyans on Twitter yesterday, they went ablaze on the fact that Honorable Raila Odinga was not given an opportunity to speak or even mentioned during the National Day celebrations.
Yeah, thank you. I think the rage on Twitter and other social media platforms on this event yesterday, denying Raila a chance to, or failing to acknowledge him in Nyeri, is an indication that Kenyans in their diversity want a peaceful, well-coordinated general election. They want the leaders to campaign to do program campaigns, issue-based campaigns, so that the country remains united. I think Kenyans have matured, and they don't want yesteryear's shenanigans of bullying other candidates because you control state machinery and state organs. So that is an indication that Kenyans want good campaigns, want peaceful campaigns, and they don't want any perception of some people being denied unfairly. Because, yesterday was a national day. It was an occasion on which Kenya remembered the day in which Kenya was given self-rule. So it is incumbent upon those in power to acknowledge the leadership. I mean, Raila is a former prime minister. He's a man who commands a huge following in this country. He's positioned to be the next president. So why deny him even acknowledgement, from the word go? Mm-hmm. If the moderators of the program failed to acknowledge him, then it was incumbent upon the president and his deputy just to mention that he's among those attending the occasion.
Although some might argue and say that there were many other leaders that were there, including those who fought for freedom, but they were also not recognized. So why Raila be picked out of all those?
Of course, we know Nyeri was a hotbed of freedom fighting in this country. We know that so many heroes in Nyeri, former Mau fighters, who are not acknowledged by the first government, Kenyatta's father, and who are not acknowledged equally by Moi and even Kibaki, who hailed from the same county. So Raila is an individual and is a man, he's been cleared to run as president, and he was there. He's a former immediate, Kenya has only had two prime ministers. One was the late Jomo Kenyatta, and one is Raila Odinga, who is still alive and active in politics. Why
deny him the opportunity?
What do you need more to acknowledge his presence? Just acknowledgement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Isaac Mwaura, are we making a mountain out of a molehill, or is this possibly indicating of a simmering country that possibly needs leaders who are able to shake hands and hug in public for the sake of the rest of the country?
Yeah, I was in Nyeri, and I think I must commend the people of Nyeri because they turned out in large numbers. It was amazing to see the enthusiasm and the spirit. And I'm sure there are many of them who are attending the national celebration for the first time. So I must really commend His Excellency the President for that policy, that then we need to decentralize, if you like, devolve even national celebration so that then the local mwananchi can have a feel of what it is. In fact, it was not, I mean, we were looking at the airplane antiques, but then the weather would not allow. The issue around the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, I'm sure, of course, people would have expected that then that would have been the case, but the president steered clear of politics in his whole address. In fact, the program was very clear. It was the governor, Wamadai, who I think messed up a bit.
And I guess by that you mean when he went into vernacular? In
vernacular, and also, yes, and also campaigning for himself openly. That was really uncalled for. We were fairly uncomfortable watching that. The deputy president steered clear of politics, and the president went to speak on matters of national policy. So it was not a political event. In fact, I was seated next to somebody who was wondering whether the Jubilee candidates would be endorsed. And I told him, no, this is not a political rally. And that's a problem. Sometimes people are not able to differentiate between a political rally and a national event. This was not politics. If, for example, the president was to speak politically, he would have then addressed people outside of the Kabiroini ASK Stadium, because, of course, there was a crowd. But most of the time when the president comes for official functions, he avoids that, mixing with politics. We have a very busy schedule for him today. He will be in Nyandarua County. So that is politics.
But
and
now,
tomorrow,
given where we are coming from as a country and where we are headed, and the fact that our leaders talk peace and would want peace, what would it cost the president just to acknowledge and say we do have the opposition leader here, Raila Odinga? What really would it take away from him just to acknowledge?
I think there's also the issue around how you create perceptions, or amplifying issues. Recognition is okay, but then when you see people who deliberately say we are coming to, say, abuse the president, and they want to even cause mayhem, like the case of Hassan Joho, and he has done it before, and then beam that, amplify that for political gain, I think that's where the problem is. It goes two ways. You've got to be predictable, you've got to be also conciliatory, you've also got to be magnanimous, you've got also to acknowledge where progress has been made, and there's no problem with that. But then when you want to be antagonistic, I mean, when you take your political, your papers for presidential campaign, and immediately after that, you declare, sasa tunaenda vita, tumetangaza vita. What message are you sending to Kenyans? When you're also saying that the people should not be monitored for hate speech, it should be seen as fair comment. Yet we know very well that certain loaded messages are the ones that would take this country to the edge of the precipice. And especially when we are going towards an election, when already you have declared that you have 10 million votes without even being counted, you are already setting the stage for chaos.
All right, Moses, you wanted to comment.
I think Honorable Mwaura has acquired some bad manners in Parliament where he sits now currently, because he's run away from the issue we're discussing. Failure to recognize Raila yesterday was bad manners on the side of the president and his deputy. Raila has been very predictable in the last so many years since he became prime minister. I mean, he's shown leadership. He's shown maturity in the political discourse of this country.
And there's no doubt about that. There's no contest on that. The question then, Moses, would be why single him out when this was a national event? And secondly, it was more to do, I mean, we had many other people who have fought for freedom, yet they're not saying, I wasn't recognized. Again, just like Honorable Mwaura has mentioned, we've had the opposition have parallel rallies when there's a national event. So why should anything change suddenly because he has come?
There were no parallel rallies yesterday, you know that.
But there have been previously.
Previously that has happened, you know what occasion that. And yesterday, we talk about yesterday, Madaraka Day, Raila has not even complained himself. It's Kenyans in their diversity. And by the response from Twitter, Kenyans simply want maturity in the way we move into our campaign period and the way we conduct elections. They want. And
now, as a leader, don't you think then it would be mature of then the leaders in NASA to say, look, there is no big deal We were there for the celebrations. We had what the president had to say. Whether I spoke or not, or our leader spoke or not, well, doesn't really change anything. People still support Raila.
Yes, because of the response and the concern of Kenyans. I'm sure the majority of Kenyans will be voters. I think Raila, as a leader, will have an occasion to respond to that. I mean, just like the concerns of Kenyans. I mean, he did not trigger it. His presence triggered it. He didn't say, these guys have failed to recognize me. Kenyans just concerned that we want on such important national days. We celebrate them as a country, we recognize each other, and we forge as a unit. You know, Nyeri is a very historical place, and it was very good that Raila Odinga decided to attend and join the rest of Kenyans, and just recognizing a leader, surely. How much more do you need as a president and his deputy? Mm-hmm. I mean, we need maturity. I mean, Kenya has moved. We are now doing a fifth year in the new, working on the new, under the new constitution. Yes, we need. That's what we need. We need Kenyans. We need leadership, the Kenyan leadership, to demonstrate in public and in private that an election is just a competition. It's not war. It's nothing to do with, you know, because these people meet in private. So we need demonstration in public. And Raila Odinga, by attending the ceremony yesterday, reached out. I mean, let's demonstrate to Kenyans that we are one, so that as we move into the campaign period and electioneering, Kenyans speak with one voice. I mean,
okay.
Yes.
All right. Honorable Maura, I don't know if you had any closing comments on that. I was seeing you sort of shaking your head as you were speaking.
It's because I can see the rather bad manners of Moses Oburu of being a sycophant. There's nothing special about Raila Odinga attending a state function. I mean, really, we were so many of us from all walks of life. And so to just make it that it's a one-person affair, I think it's very selfish. It's extremely selfish. It's very egoistic. And we cannot say that because one person appears to be aggrieved. And by the way, Moses, don't say that it is him who is not complaining. It is him through his Twitterati people. We know how it operates. I've been there anyway. So it's just trying to make political capital out of a situation and perpetuating the victim mentality that, oh, we are being oppressed. We cannot even be recognized. We are too special. That has no place in Kenyan history. The truth of the matter is there was a state function. Nobody else was supposed to speak apart from the Ambassador Madai, apart from the Deputy President and the President, and that was it. And just to show the bad faith, if at all, after that we went for a luncheon and he just disappeared. He didn't come. So it goes two ways, and you cannot want to show that you're preaching peace while at the same time you are sending the wrong signals. We must be consistent in what we are saying. And we must also not lie to Kenyans about certain issues. So I think, personally, I think we are blowing this issue out of proportion, obviously for political capital, just like we wanted to overshadow the launch of the SGR through the supposed blockage of the entrance of one fake Emir Sultan, I don't know who. So we must move forward. We must move forward and address the issues as they are, and we must also agree to disagree politically. But then
again, the question would be: he is the governor of Mombasa currently. He has that position, and nobody can take that away from him. So why stop him from?
Certainly, he must behave like the governor of Mombasa County.
And are you suggesting that he did not behave?
Of course,
like
he has
governor?
not. He has consistently not behaved like the governor. And I don't want to go about his academic credentials because I don't think those ones have anything to do with manners. But certainly, he has been very disrespectful to the president. And you must not allow an individual just to go around because he wants to. You see, every time this guy seems to be seen to be fought by the government, then he also wants to show up his political support. Let him continue doing that and move on.
Moses, your thoughts on the fact that Joho was, denied entry or access to the SGR launch?
It's the same narrative. I mean, it's the same thing, speaks of political maturity. I mean, when you're a president, you're a president. And when you're a deputy president, you're a deputy president. I mean, what damage would Joho do when he comes there? I mean, the man is popular. You cannot take it away from him. The people of Mombasa love him. You can't stop him from being re-elected. He's popular with his electorate. And the fact that, I think the fear is more on the president and the deputy. They fear that this man would command so much applause. I mean, but that's maturity. I mean, if the man is popular...
But given previous events, Moses, come on, let's call a spade a spade. There are times he's literally thrown jabs at the president to his face. Is that promoting anything to do with national unity?
We are living the new constitution. These freedoms, some of us fought for those freedoms. Let the man speak. The man is the government.
But don't you agree that freedom needs to have some amount of responsibility? I mean, right now, if we began, insulting each other because we are free, how does that help this conversation?
I mean, when Joe says that the central government, the national government is taking credit for this, for the SGR.
No,
I mean, previously, they took credit for some of the programs they never implemented. I mean, and then the governor, when the governor highlights what I've done this ABCD with a minimal resources that avail to me. And then the president
But Moses, don't you see on one hand, you're asking that the president respect the opposition leader Raila Odinga by just acknowledging, by mentioning that he is there. On the other hand, you don't have a problem when the governor of Mombasa literally throws a jab at the president. We're not just talking about Uhuru as an individual, but the presidency. Isn't there a decorum that should be there?
I appreciate there must be a decorum. But I remember previously, Joho just pointed out ABCDs. I mean, there was nothing an abuse. There was no abuse. There was no innuendos in those statements. He just said, I did ABCD with the minimal resources that I have. The national government should have done ABCD. And who else?
Now the question here is, Moses, and what I want us to understand is, given that we are looking at the bigger picture, national unity, is that the best way to do it?
I mean, what? We have a problem with being told the truth.
My question is that the best way to do it? It's not a matter of, yes, it may be the truth, but there are things that possibly, for instance, now if there was an attack by Al-Shabaab, there could be the truth that is kept for the virtue of the fact that investigations are being done. So I'm just asking, in this regard, is that the best way to handle it?
So we have a problem with being told the truth publicly. So we should be told.
I am not asking whether, I'm asking, is that the best way to handle it?
I think the truth should be told any way that is possible. I mean, so long as it's the truth. The truth that
including being disrespectful, including abusing people, including pointing fingers. When that is done, when that is done by the opposition, it is okay. But when one little demigod, Raila Odinga, is not recognized,
and Raila has
the one person who people adore and almost worship, now Raila that is national
has nothing
we
to
cannot
do.
continue going
Raila has nothing to do with
Raila has made his contribution, other people have made their contribution.
Let's only articulating the issues of Mombasa.
About what he must not
is electoral.
Gentlemen, let's agree one at a time. Let's agree one at a time. Now, let me hear from you, Honorable Mwaura, basically on your answer to Moses.
You know what? We cannot have a situation where when the opposition abuses government, it's okay. It's freedom of expression is why we went to the strangers, and this is now what we have been fighting for. But when the opposition seems to be aggrieved, now the state is being immature, is being intolerant, and what have you, we must use the same standards. And that is an inconsistency that I find. That as long as you support Raila Odinga, then you are a saint. Wewe ni mweupe kama pamba. But as long as you seem to be advised, there cannot be a situation, Mike, where in this country, there is one individual who is always right and the rest of us are wrong. This individual must not be criticized, must be treated like a demigod, and he is owed everything about the liberation of this country. That's a lie. It's a pure hogwash. And I want to say this very clearly. As a country, we must respect our leaders across board. That I agree. But at the same time, if you demand to be respected, respect others. Use language that also shows that you have. Because if you are aspiring to be president, then you must also respect that institution. Because if by any chance that you are to be elected, then you also expect to be respected in the same way. But if you are showing disrespect, you are inconsistent in your claim of respect, if also you seem not to actually recognize progress for the sake of political expediency, if you want to have a national platform to advance your own political agenda, then obviously some things will have to happen.
Okay, Moses, don't you see like there's an imbalance here? We have on one hand, you want the president to recognize Raila just for his presence, and that is of course out of courtesy, because really, if it was to follow the program word for word, then it was not part of the program. It is out of courtesy. But on the other hand, you don't have a problem with the governor of Mombasa literally, as it were, speaking to the president's face.
You know, people fear. I think we. You know, let me now say this. It's called a spade a spade. You know, President Uhuru and his deputy are children of the old regime, the old Kanu tyrant.
And so is Raila.
No, Raila is not. Raila is not. Raila is not. You know the.
He was the Secretary General of Kanu.
You know the facts under which he was secretary. You know the
No, he was the Secretary General of Kanu. His father was a founding Kanu.
That Kanu is not the same Kanu that Moi used to
and you see,
eat on Kenyans.
You see, that's the problem.
The problem
Yes.
Moses,
You people,
you selective application of memory.
Please accept the fact that we are under a new dispensation and people must be told the truth.
But
And how therefore, Raila was not a member of Kanu.
When Joho tells the president to his face that this is
seriously.
wrong, what is the
On
problem?
national television, you want to deny that Raila was not a member, the Secretary General of Kanu. His father was not the Vice President of this country. They are the founders of Kanu.
You are misrepresenting historical facts, my brother.
How do you misrepresent the truth?
You are not.
Raila has been a member of
care of
Kanu.
the circumstances.
He took his NDP to Kanu. His father was a founder of Kanu. He is Kanu himself.
No. Mwaura,
And he has all the bad manners of Kanu, like selling certificates to members.
No.
His own political party.
You're speaking in denial. You know the circumstances under which NDP and Kanu became partners. You know the circumstances. You know that's how we managed to get Kanu out of this.
We're losing the plot here because you're the one who's brought up the Kanu angle to it.
Yes.
And you're saying
I said these are people who never fought for anything.
As long as Raila is in Kanu, Kanu is safe. But when Raila is out of Kanu, that's a different Kanu. That is
that Uhuru and Ruto were never part of the struggles for anything good in this country. They're just beneficiaries. Yes. And
so the struggle is about being tear gassed and going to detention.
Let's come back.
Only Raila who did that.
It is about the end product.
We have a new constitution. Gentlemen, let's come back to the bigger picture. And the bigger picture here, and that's what we want to talk about, is national unity. Okay? And when we look at what happened yesterday, the reason why there is hue and cry is possibly because there are those who felt, well, there was reason to recognize Raila Odinga by virtue of the fact that he's one of those who has fought for the freedom of this country, being Madaraka Day. When we look at maybe what happened in Mombasa, it's maybe also for the sake of national. My question to you, Moses, is do you feel that there is any different way it could have been handled yesterday by the president just by recognizing? Is it that a big deal?
Of course. It's simple. Just say we amongst us today is the former Right Honorable President.
And that would have pacified everything. All right, Honorable Mwaura, what would it have taken from the president to just mention that Raila is there? It really does not cost him anything.
I think...
and he has done it previously.
When you say all the freedom fighters, if then truly you are a freedom fighter, then you are part of that freedom fighting, and you so feel recognized. Just like all of them were, in fact, to the point where the president even gave an order to the Minister for Lands, so that then they can deal with the issues of colonial villages and the issue of squatters. Those are the real issues. But when we just make our politics, and the president said it very well, we must move away from personality politics. And I really like his agenda. He said, we thought, just like Kwame Nkrumah told us, that seek ye first the political kingdom. But then this political kingdom is rallied around personalities, the big man syndrome. And then you've got to look for the economic development, because then that glues the people together. So the issue about recognition, yes, around the issue of freedom fighting. Of course, everybody, in fact, the crowd even cheered when they could see the Right Honorable Raila Odinga being beamed on TV, or that they were seeing him move or whatever, and that was a recognition. But then to extend it too far and to try to make a political context out of it is exactly what...
All right,
excuse me, just one question. My friend, Honorable Mwaura, did it have to take you to Parliament through Raila's intervention, ordering ODM to give you nominations, to realize that the man is a tyrant, the man is all these things all these negative expletives you're heaping on him? Is that
now? That's the fallback position.
And I don't want us to attack personalities, because they're also fairly not here to defend themselves.
Yeah. Let me respond to that, because he's asked. That's always the fallback position that the so-called CORD, is it CORD or NASA? I don't know. Sometimes I get lost. People get into when I have to attack them.
My mother party is
Well. Now, the issue
not a
is
member of ODM, I'm not the party's
yeah,
name.
code on us or something in between there. The issue is, do we have a situation where people change political parties? Yes. Is it the same reason as to why the President Uhuru appointed Osam Ongeri and Chirau Mokwere as ambassadors, and now they are so-called NASA members? So let us not go into that. We change political parties when you recognize an individual that is not the one who aspires the same way you thought you believe. You move on.
Okay. Moving on now, let's look at the clearance of some gubernatorial positions yesterday, despite the fact that there's some some societies that have come out and given 20 names of people who do not qualify under Chapter 6 as far as they were concerned. Let me start with you, Moses, on your thoughts as to whether we have maybe lost the the moral compass as a country as per Chapter 6 of the Constitution.
I think we lost this thing as a country in 2013.
Why?
The moment we allowed Uhuru Ruto to be on the ballot paper in 2013, I think any other things afterwards, there's a precedent set, because the accusations, the crimes against humanity, accusations leveled against them, they were in court, active in court. So any other thing that comes after that, I think it will take the institutions concerned serious
So
work.
Would you have had, there's always a starting point. Would you have had that this would have been the starting point for Kenya now to reclaim its moral compass and say anybody who possibly is questionable of questionable character should not be cleared by IEBC? There's got to be a starting
I
point.
believe in Chapter 6 myself, in its entirety. But implementing it, given what I've said, it's an uphill, because people go to court and cite the precedents. I mean, the court ruled. And we know we are not a banana republic. We have institutions. We respect the verdict of the court. So recalling what happened in 2013, I don't know, between the crimes against humanity and being accused of not having a degree or something, or having obtained a degree fraudulent. I don't know which one is grave.
So you don't feel it would be a starting point?
I don't know. We need
okay.
to...
Honorable Maura.
I think there's a problem because of the issue of Article 193, which asks that people need to have exhausted all means of appeal before they would be otherwise considered guilty. And I think a lot of people have done what we call court of public opinion, where there's a variance between what the courts may declare within the form of state and what are the real aspirations of the voters. So some of the people who have been mentioned here are some of the most popular. In fact, they are gubernatorial aspirants. And I think if you went to their locality, they are local heroes and sheroes, if you like. We need to really interrogate the paradigm around how we conceptualize the state and what is it that we elect leaders to do. Because even in situations where people have been elected and they are accused of being corrupt or have held public office, sometimes the local minority doesn't see anything, it doesn't see that as a problem as long as this individual is seen to be solving political, communal problems that bedevil them. They immediately see the directness with which then they attain that, even if that is not sustainable. And this is part of a wider national conversation we need to have around election campaign financing, around what is it that leaders are supposed to do. Do we just have constitutional frameworks that do not speak to the real aspirations of Kenyans? Well, being futuristic, yes, within the confines of a modern state. But I think it's important also to domesticate democracy, so that then you don't have situations where courts are declaring things that are like anathema to the ears of the electorate. And I don't think I can fault the electorate here. There's a situation where we must accept that we are who we are.
Okay.
So I don't expect, Mike, I'll conclude this. I don't expect that there will be any action, because I heard, like IBC was saying, if you don't exhaust your appeal mechanisms, we'll have no option but to buy you. But the moment you just go to court and have an order or show that there's something in motion there, then you can as well go ahead. So the question would be, after the elections are done, would the court, for example, have the impetus to go ahead and declare you unfit to hold public office. And if that were to happen, would you then resign at that point in time? Or then the court also will not have any desire to move on with the case. The case will lapse in court. So therefore so that then it's an abuse of the court process. Those are things that we need to really interrogate, so that then we don't just codify things in law that we have no intention of implementing.
All right, I think we need to wind up because of time, but I'll come to you, Moses. And the message that we must get across is a message of peace. Your message to NASA supporters in regards to peace.
I think my countrymen and women, I think we approach this, we are facing an election. It appears to be a tight race between the two coalitions, Jubilee and NASA. As NASA, we are sure of winning this thing by a landslide. Of course, getting 50 plus 1%. We are sure of the 10 million votes. But my message is, let us uphold peace. Let us love our country. Let us remain patriotic to our motherland. Let us do campaigns. Let us do very sober campaigns, focus on issues, and get our country out of the current economic mess we are in. I mean, a country cannot say, a government cannot say we want to move forward with a debt of 4.5 trillion. I mean, this is not possible. We are borrowed. We are almost borrowing above the threshold.
Peace to your supporters.
So, no, peace, peace, peace.
All right. Honorable Maura, your closing comments and possibly Jubilee supporters on peace.
I think there's no question that President Uhuru Kenyatta is a man of peace. He has said it, even when he was taking his certificate of the Jubilee Party. He said it very clearly, and he even has signed a peace accord. And we in Jubilee would want peace. We are not drumming up for war. We are not seeing this electoral contest as a call for war for Kenyans, like our counterparts have said. And we would want to ask that we should have messages that speak the truth. If even you did a conservative estimate, there are not 10 million voters on the side of NASA. We are starting with 8.1 million ahead of your 6.9. That is documented. And so therefore, let's not lie to Kenyans. Let us move forward, be ready to accept results. The president has said that yesterday. We must accept results. And anybody who is setting this country for war and for pandemonium must be held accountable. We want a peaceful country.
Our principles have never called for war.
Gentlemen, so we want to wind up there. Thank you very much. It's now 12 minutes after 7, and that is the Dawn Debate. And, well, peace is what we'd like and are praying for at the end of the day. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's time for us to give you some news headlines and also some hot topics. Do stay with us right here on Morning Express.